everybody, my name's Ty from EDPI Australia. I'm a town planning and development consultant doing both town planning applications and delivery. I've been doing it for a number of years across residential, commercial and industrial. However, mostly in the residential space at the moment with the housing crisis we're having here in Australia. So I'm working with a range of different housing providers and developers to deliver housing, as well as looking to deliver a few of my own. Thought I'd quickly put a video together on just a tutorial on how I do my due diligence and feasibility reports. So people pay upwards of thousands of dollars for these property reports from town planners and don't actually realize a lot of the information is free online. So I wanted to share a few of the different sites I use, the template I put together and I adapted to over the years, and just basically give a high level understanding of how you could look at a site, understand the constraints and whether it's actually worth pursuing. So to get started, I've been sent a site by an agent up in Townsville. So here it is here. So I saw that it was a medium density zone, which basically means you can go higher density here as opposed to low density where you're looking at single to two-story. And then basically I will throw that into my template. So this is my template here. It runs through my initial site review, the searches, which I'll show soon, a DD checklist, which I go through and tick off, imports, and then returns, which I won't get into today. So we'll just be purely looking at the initial site review. So I've just put in the location, the address, and then the title reference. So basically to get started, I'll go into the mapping service that I have. So search the site, there it is. And then, so this is Nearmap. This is not a free service. You have to pay for this one, but there are other free online services that you can look at for satellite mapping, but you don't generally need it. So I'll just have a general overview of the site. This image is from November 1st, 2023. I can see there's a house on it, and it's across from, looks like a shopping district. So great location. And then to get started, I'll find the planning services for the council. So Townsville City Council has what's called e-planning. So I'll launch that, and there's a range of different services that they offer. So all councils offer this. Some are a bit different. Some don't have the interactive option and you have to actually physically open a PDF and try and find where things go. But Townsville's actually great that they've got these services already accessible and you can actually put in all your details to get started. So for a start on this, I've opened property planning rules. And what you do is we'll start our search. So we'll look for our site, which is 68 Arthur, find it there. And then that'll take a long time. While that's doing that, I'll go back to the e-planning portal and then just find interactive mapping. So that's all your mapping services for your zoning and your overlays. And then now if that's gone through, so there's our site there. So now I know what zoning it is, the precincts it's within, and the overlays that restrict it. So airport environs is normal, but there is a low hazard flood. So for Townsville, that is fantastic. So it is almost impossible to get a flood-free site here. And basically the project I'll be looking at doing is a multiple dwelling or a multi-unit development. So search, add that to it, and then go down here to a level of assessment. And here, this building height exceed number of stories. So no, we don't plan on exceeding 3 stories, I think, in my project's case. Hit that, and then I now know that my application for this project is code assessable. So there are 3 types of assessment types. There's self-assessable, where you don't need to lodge anything to council as long as you comply with that assessment criteria. Code assessable, which is this one in this case, so requires a lodgement to council, addressing the codes it triggers. And then there's impact assessable, which is an assessment against the entirety of the planning scheme, as well as requires public notification. So impact assessable is the worst, or we shouldn't say the worst, is the hardest kind, as you have to publicly go out to residents and people and they get an opinion on your project. So if they do voice concerns, you then have to address them, which puts a bit of issues on getting your approval through. So now that I have that, I'll basically just take a snippet of it, and then drop that into my searches. So to get started, we'll just start filling in the searches spot. So there's the planning rules, there's a near map shot. So we'll take a near map shot. quickly get that. Right. And then also Queensland Globe. So, sorry, should have mentioned that I am Queensland based. So I do this in other states, but Queensland is sort of where I prefer to do majority of my work. All right, well that loads. Ooh. We'll search that address again. So this is Queensland Globe, 68 Arthur Street. Yeah. They'll pull up in here, and there's a number of different layers that you can access in here, but I basically look at, all I want to see are the boundaries and then if there's any easements affecting the site. So I'll go into here, scroll down to plan and cadastro, further down to land parcels, and then these are the items I want. So I want to know road, land, and any rights or interests. So we'll click that, and that will take a second to load. Right, I'll go back to the town planning or Townsville Council planning portal. And then what I'm going to go into is the interactive mapping, which I clicked and opened up here. And here's the different range of mapping services you have. So Townsville City Plan is one, so we will open that one. And then we'll also want the flooding, so another service. And then also community. So that mapping will show you a few of the services that they have available on their system. You can also do a dial before you dig search, which I will also recommend, but a lot of the time you can just get it on this interactive mapping. Okay, back to Queensland Globe. Oh, and I've clicked on something I didn't want. Oh, there we go. So road, land parcel. There we go. All right, so these green here is an easement. So as we can see on our site, no easement over here. So there's nothing to worry about there. So I'll just take a quick snippet of that. Again, add that onto here. And then we'll start moving through the list. So first lot's a zoning. So we know it's medium density. And basically to find that, we'll go and find our site. So everything has a search base. You just put in the address, search through, and then I'll do that for all the different layers that I've opened up. Oop. All right, once those are all loaded, so done with Queensland Globe, close that. All right, here's our mapping. So as you can see, that's our color for our medium density. So we go to our layers on the side here, and this is how essentially a town planner will look at all the different layers that are over a site. You can actually put on an aerial if that's what you prefer to see. Open your overlay map. So we know there's airport environs over it, as well as a flood overlay. So we know that from the initial search we did, which was looking at these planning rules. So here's our triggers. We've got airport environs as well as a flood overlay. So that's all I'll need to open up, but take a quick snippet of the zoning. Here's our zoning here. And here's our zoning layers. So as you can see, color code it with the medium density. Blue, that's your, looks like major center for that color. Medium density over here. Light pink is your low density. And then also this blue line around is just showing that it's within a precinct. So all councils that you do this will have similar mapping. It might change a little bit, the wording might change a bit, but everything is basically the same. All right, drop it in for zoning and then start putting in our overlays. So close that, turn that one off, turn off our precincts, and then, I mean, we can put that in if we want for airport. It's kind of pointless, but I'll put it in there for the sake of doing this. But the main one, obviously, I care about is flooding, so turn off the airport. And we'll find flooding, which is there. So here's our layers, flood hazard overlay. So our low density looks like it takes up majority of the site, which isn't too bad. Yeah, great. So take a quick snippet of that. All right, while we're also on this, I'll just jump past these next two here and then down to additional flooding. So the reason I have additional flooding for this one is Townsville offers a separate flooding service where you can actually look at the flooding impacts on site. So you can actually do a flood point query that drops here, do a submit, and then it pulls up the results here. So basically the 1% AEP depth, so it's 15 or 0.15 below the 1% AEP, which is basically Q100. Townsville requires any site to be 300 above the Q100 or 1% AEP. So this sort of gives you that indication of if you need to build the property level up or if you need to build that slab level up. So certifiers will also condition this on any building approval. So any site that has heavily flooded by flooding, which is these sites here, you need to factor that in. Plus, if it isn't within a flood zone, most councils require you to do a 2D flood impact assessment, which can get very pricey. So if you can avoid doing that, you're going to save yourself $10,000. So this site is outside those flood issues, besides that little piece there, which we can talk to through a planning application. So this site's actually ideal. Right, so just drop that there. All right, the next two light, it's called dams and SPP. So it's a state planning state planning policy and development assessment something. What that essentially means is any planning application or site you look at also goes through a state review, also federal, but you can tell if something is going to be federally impacted, and most things are either a local or state impact. So what we find there is, pull up my bookmarks. So mapping, so you can type in, so here it is here. It's under, you can put in DSD MIP mapping, or you can just find it through the state development planning website. And then there's two mapping services here, both cover all of Queensland. So open that one, open that one. So forgot to mention, when I am in near map, I'm able to click on a site and actually see the area of the site as well as what my plan number is. So basically every site is registered with the plan reference, and that's basically so we can understand when it was registered and how it is registered under the Queensland title. So this site is under a 1 over register plan of 717396. So we can just copy and paste that, go into our interact the mapping with the state, and then up the top here, search for land parcels. You can copy and paste that in, take out the bracket, just follow the prompts and press search. Same for this Dan's mapping. Take out the bracket and search. All right, so here's the triggers here. And then everything is under a local assessment. So there's nothing that looks like it triggers for a state matter. However, always go to your infrastructure and, I'm in the wrong one, sorry, into your state transport and find where your state transport corridor is, which is, yep, there's the road here. And then we want to find any triggers of future corridors or the proximity to that main road. So it's important to always pull this up, because you might actually pick a site that has a upgrade that's by the Queensland government, and essentially that means they can resume your land in the future. So if you pull this up, you know what hasn't been allocated for state planning. That's not to say it won't change, but this is a good start anyways to see, to make sure you're not buying a property that will be essentially taken off you in the future and put into a state corridor. So we can see here, this is actually within 100 meters of a main roads intersection. So there is actually a trigger for a state planning policy, only a minor one. So I don't foresee that being any issue. What it means is when you do a local planning assessment is that you also do a referral to the state. So in this case will be to transport the main roads so that they can provide any comment on it. So that's all that your town planner will do. You don't need to know any of that. You just got to know if your site's impacted, because it is additional cost. Show SB levels. Oh, that didn't go well, but it's fine. Oh, and I usually do put in legends next to these. I'm just doing this quickly. There are legends for everything, so when you screenshot it, put it in there so you can see what's next to it. All right. So next we're looking at the services. So something I did forget to do was obviously do a quick street view. I know the site already, which is why I didn't normally do it, but just drop on a street review. Always look at your site. Best if you can actually get there in person, and then just see what's around. So obviously there's it's a 33 kV line at the front of it, so there's obviously some restrictions on getting underneath it. There's a street tree here, so you might have to remove it, which requires approval from council. I'll cross over that if your driveway is not going there, and then you're going to have to reinstate that. And then there's that house that we were initially looking at. So looks like an old house on some stumps, so easily removable with the shed. So a bit of work there to get rid of it, but nothing too drastic. Right, so now that we know what services are there, I'm going to go back to the mapping system. So this is back on interactive mapping from council. This is called community, and probably pull up imagery so it's a bit easier. There's the house once again, and then what we can see is we can see a sewer line running through the back of it. So that is a problem. Before we look into it a bit more, I'm just going to open up all the services. So water, stormwater, doesn't generally show much more than that. Yep, so there's the main one. So we've got water at the front, which is a 100 line, a stormwater pit as well at the front, so 375 RCP. So you've got underground stormwater along here, so there's a 375 connection onto a 900 and a 1050. So water must be flowing this way. So good to know that stuff, where the water does go if you did have to do some flood mitigation. But all we'll be doing is a stormwater management plan on this site just to get the water off of it, which will most likely run to the street. And then the tricky one, which is the sewer line. So we've got a 150 gravity sewer through the middle of it. So we can actually click on it and pull up the details. Yeah, so 150 lined with a manhole right in the center of this lot and another manhole servicing these lots. So issues with sewer is it is almost impossible to get a building over the services approval anymore. None of these places do have that, but yeah, they are difficult to do. So a lot of footings can't go over them. That's not to say you can't do it, but I do try and design around it. In some other cases, I would completely realign the sewer line. So I'd have to chat with my designer to see if we can design around this. Otherwise, I have to factor in cost to actually relocate it, which will be hefty. So yeah, so main issue of the site looks like to be sewer. Right, so take a snippet of that one. Drop that in. All right, and then the last ones I have is dial before you dig, electrical NBN. So I won't do that because it's obviously just going to take up more time, but just pull up NBN Co, do a search of the address, see if it's available. Same for your electrical, pull up any electrical service, whether it's Energex or Ergon, do a search of the line to see what connection is there. We know there's the power lines at the front, so there's power there. It doesn't look like there's anything else to be underground to be worried about. All right, now that we've got all those done, we'll go back to our initial site review and we can start filling in this detail. So lot and plan reference, which we did grab before. Drop that in, registered owners. So I won't pull any of those details up. I do have access to RP data, which lets me look at a property site and then also look at the history of it, how much it sold for last, how long this person's owned it for, and a sort of market appraisal of what it is. So we know the agent's trying to sell the two sites for 700. This lets me actually run a property report on it to see what it's actually worth. But like I said, won't be pulling that up. Contact, so there's an agent, land size, developable area. Again, that was through Nearmap, 1,008 meters squared. I am looking at the two sites, but thought I'd do 68 because I've already done 70. So 1,008, we'll drop that in. Oop, not 10,000. Meters squared, existing structures, so existing dwelling on stilts, shed, fire, vegetation. Council, we know it's Townsville City Council. There's existing infrastructure charges, so I'll pull that up shortly, but that's some calculations we have to do on what headworks are on the site. So any site you do a development on, you have to pay infrastructure charges to council, and what that is basically paying to access their network or put a demand on their capacity. All right, site access, so street access from Arthur Street. Surrounding land uses residential and commercial as well. Commercial adjacent. Existing improvements, just a house. Site description: regular shaped flat lot with old house. Option near contract, so I don't need to get into that right now. Right, local planning scheme. So again, it'll be Townsville city plan. Zoning, we know is medium density. Our proposed use is multiple dwelling. So again, I'll chat with my designer to see how many we can fit on there. Permitted use, so we're going to be doing a DA for code accessible. Oh no, level assessment's code accessible. Permitted use is residential. Residential because it's residential zoned. Overlays, we know is airport environments, which I'll just make mention on, and then flood hazard load. Right, stay interest, 100 meters to TMR intersection or state controlled intersection, and existing approvals. So we didn't actually do this. We should probably check if there's any existing approvals on the site. We'll go back to the Townsville Council Planning Portal. We'll go find property, and then we'll put in the address again. Search. And it'll take a long time again. Right, don't need this anymore. So we'll close all these. And then it's just going to be silly. Try it again. Search. All right, there we go. So yeah, this is just a basic property search. Lets you pull up that zoning again, as well as applications. So doesn't look like there's anything here. There was a building approval for that shed back in 2012. Nothing else lodged or approved since then. Great. So we can put nil or I guess shed approval. All right. So here's all the title site things. So again, I'd pull that through RP data, which I won't be doing today, just because obviously there'll be some personal information on it. I know there's no interest or easements over it, so at least we can flag that, but you can pay for a title search to see if there's anything else over it that are of concern, but no, it looks like it's a pretty basic site. So easements, we know nil, and then reconfiguration. So basically that's to change the lot boundaries for anything, which we don't plan to do unless maybe we look to purchase that second site. So possibly if using second site. All right, so is the land under any incentives or subsidy models? So councils offer incentives for different types of development. So particularly at the moment with the housing crisis that we're having, there are incentives out there for certain things. So all you really do is you do a basic search. So I'll go council incentives development. So we've got a business boost, doing business in Townsville. So city activation, let's see what that is. We have, okay, incentives, new purpose, urban infill. All right, so we've got infrastructure charges, which we'll talk about soon, as well as DA fees. So it looks like there's a criteria. So you get 100% fee waived if you're in all city core and city fringe areas. 50% city fringe areas, and urban in 50%. So there we go. We've got medium density here with 50% off our infrastructure charges as well as our council application fees. So there is an incentive. 50% off infrastructure charges and application fees. So yes. All right, nearby uses. I mean, pretty residential. That looks commercial actually. Oh no, sorry. That's residential. Oh no, that is commercial, residential. So it's a bit of a mix. So we're going to say competing mix of residential, residential and commercial. Future development unknown, and suburb profile, which I can again pull from the RP data to see what it is. Access to essential road network, so yes. Public transport, yes. If it's on the main road, it'll be close to it. Essential services, we know that shopping centers nearby, so yes. Electrical, I think there was a 33 kV line to the front. I'll put a 33 kV overhead line to the front. I will check exactly what it is, so just take that on face value. Will there be a point connected to site? Yes. Stormwater, yes. Well, we'll say yeah, existing. Underground SW, existing underground sewer and manhole on site. So we'll just make mention here, issue with alignment for building design. So just flag that because that is something I do have to look at. Will there be a point of connection? Yes, may need new connection. Right, telecommunications, yeah, we know there's NBN, so yes. Water, yes. Oh, the 100D line to the front, yes, and then gas, no gas, so don't really have much gas here, no and no. Alright, so geotechnical report, site classification, so I won't do any of this, but basically it's just to look at the site conditions when doing a building. So you obviously get a soil report done for any building that you do, and then sometimes if you see a few funny issues with the site, or you think there will be some geotechnical concerns, then you will engage someone. So we're just going to put not applicable for now. And then topography, site levels, so I know it's flat, which we looked at before. Other site constraints, we'll say 2 in case there's anything else. So it's above Q100. Bulk earthworks required? No, because the site's not flooded. Well, it has that low density, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. What is the Q100 level for the other flooding sector? We'll just say an existing contamination, to be confirm, list of environmental register. The title searches, this is where it says if we're on the EMR, CLR searches, but we know it's not on any of that because there's nothing over that site to make us think otherwise. Heritage register, no, that didn't come up when we did our searches. Native title, no. Environmental, and then obviously the agent details. So we'll just touch on the heritage side stuff. There's 2 lots of heritage here in Queensland. There's a state and a local heritage. Both have their own different plan requirements, but if you do get a building that is heritage listed, there could be some serious issues into what you can actually do on it. So some will require you to not be able to relocate, some require you not be able to touch it, some require you to keep the frontage, or sorry, the facade on it and do something behind, which you do see a lot of those types of projects that go on in Brisbane with those high-rise heritage buildings. But nothing to worry about in this case. So essentially that's my initial site review. So I'll do that for any site that I'm looking at. And then obviously I forgot was the infrastructure charges. So as I mentioned, all councils have infrastructure charges. So we will just search that. Again, just search all these for whatever council you're with. Council account infrastructure charges, click on that. All right, so there's the resolutions there and our calculator. All right, so it's always easy to use a calculator because it calculates it for you. So some councils will give you a calculator and some won't. But and again, Townsville Council is actually really good in terms of the planning sense and the information that they provide you. Does make it a lot easier for us town planners to do the info. Okay, so here's a basic calculator. We know it's a fully serviced area, but say if you're into rural areas, you just change this here. And then our proposed land use, we're looking at doing a multiple dwelling. Let's say 2 bedroom. I don't know how we could fit on a single site. Let's say 10 as a basic understanding. And then there's going to be a credit land use. So there's always a land credit for any site. So there's a dwelling. Let's say it's more than 3 bedrooms, which is 1. So there we go. So that's what is payable to council if we were to develop out 10 units with a bit of a credit, as I mentioned, there is a 50% incentive, so we could take a calculator. 126,707 divided by 2, and there you go. So 63,000 to do 10 2-bedroom units over it. Again, we'll have to get my designer to have a look at it, see what we can fit on there. But at least I have a basic understanding what that is, because headworks can be super expensive. In some cases, I've actually had headworks, all these charges to council cost more than the actual construction. So definitely make sure you're aware of this, and if you don't understand them, call your council or your local town planner to figure them out for you. But yeah, that's essentially how I do my initial site review and searches. I do have a DD checklist, which I run through when I'm a little bit more progressed in a site, but it takes me roughly half an hour to just do a high level assessment. And then once I've got that, I can actually start putting all my costs together. So that'll be for another day, but yeah, I hope that's been helpful for anyone wanting to do it. Again, yeah, every council is different, but we are available for any consultation or free advice that you might need to doing this. So please look at our website or give me a message whenever you're available. All right, all the best.